Now, we all know that Muzan is the undisputed Demon King, and because of him, we have this amazing series we know as Demon Slayer. Meanwhile, Yoriichi is undoubtedly the strongest swordsman of all time. So, have you ever wondered what would happen if Yoriichi became a demon? Scratch that, let's think of something bigger. What if Yoriichi became the Demon King? Surprisingly enough, not much changes at the beginning of the story, especially Yoriichi's history. Same as always, Yoriichi was born in the middle of the Sengoku period with his twin, Michikatsu Tsugikuni, with Yoriichi having a mark on his forehead that his father deemed as unlucky. But this gave him the ability to see through the transparent world, and as he grew up, he met Yuta, an orphan who would eventually become his wife. He was expecting a child, but on his way home after trying to find a midwife, he saw that Yuta and their unborn child were killed by a demon. He was so struck by this tragedy that for 10 days straight, he did nothing but hold her corpse in his arms. Eventually, this event was what led him to become a demon slayer, and because of his raw talent, he eventually became the strongest and mastered the sun-breathing technique, which gave birth to the 5 fundamental breathing styles. And one of his journeys as a demon slayer, he saves Tomoyoshi and Sayako Kamado, Tanjiro's ancestors, and they became really good friends. His most fateful encounter was with Muzan himself, where he sliced and diced him up so badly to the point that he almost died and got PTSD. Michikatsu, his twin, eventually met with Muzan, and he agreed to become a demon, changing his name to Kokoshibo. Now, as a demon, Kokoshibo assassinated the Oyakata, the head of the Demon Slayer Corps, and this is the catalyst for the massive change in our story. You could even say it's literally their canon event. Because of this betrayal, the other Demon Slayers demanded that Yoriichi should be the one to take responsibility for his brother's actions and commit seppuku. Lucky for him though, the new Oyakata was merciful and decided that Yoriichi was to be spared and banished instead. Now this is where things get interesting. You see, in the original series, Yoriichi continued on to independently kill demons and even kept in touch with some of the Hashiras secretly. But in this timeline, Yoriichi felt betrayed and his sense of justice was slowly getting twisted. He runs off on his own to hunt down Muzan, and his entire demeanor goes from being warm like the sun to cold like the winter. However, before he committed to this manhunter demon hunt, he met up with the Kamado family one last time, one of the few people he trusted the most, and showed them the sun-breathing technique. Tsubiyoshi promises that he will keep the sun-breathing technique alive through the Hainokami Kagura, and realizes that this will be their last meeting as Yoriichi hands them his Hanafuda earrings. As he bids farewell, Yoriichi becomes the lone wolf that he has always wanted to be. His journey was long, and he killed a lot of demons on his way, as he finally found Muzan. Of course, Muzan was outright terrified. Like, imagine seeing the man who almost killed you appear right before your eyes once again. The two fought, and as you can tell, Yoriichi easily made Muzan fall to his knees. But instead of killing Muzan, he tries to make a deal. Because of his deteriorating mental health and his outlook on the world becoming totally twisted and dark, he decides he wants to become a demon to take revenge on the humans who treated him like trash all his life. Even though he was indifferent, Muzan agrees because what can the guy do? If he doesn't make Yoriichi an enemy, he's dead. So he gives Yoriichi a lot of his blood in the hopes that he cannot assimilate properly and die due to the transformation. But surprisingly, Yoriichi transforms into a demon, and because of his hyperphysical abilities, he is able to instantly regain his consciousness without turning into a total beast. Muzan couldn't be any happier because the one that he feared the most was now on his side, or so he thought. After Yoriichi became a demon, an upper moon meeting commenced, and he was instantly welcomed into the organization, but with a lot of tension. Most of the demons hated a new powerhouse coming in, because it would mean there's going to be a chance when it came to their rankings, and no one knew this more than Kokoshibo himself, the current upper rank one. To test his loyalty and knowing their past, Muzan came up with a little twisted game. He orders Yoriichi and Kokoshibo to duel for the position of upper rank 1. Without hesitation, both agreed. Yoriichi remained nonchalant the entire time, while Kokoshibo was full of rage and anger. The fight was fierce, but it also ended fast, because as we all know, even an 80-year-old decrepit Yoriichi almost ended Kokoshibo's life, but couldn't do it because he died standing. Yoriichi won, and he's now the upper moon one, but he spares Kokoshibo's life in the process because he still has a little bit of compassion left inside him. Because of this course of events, Muzan clearly thought that Yoriichi was completely loyal to him, as by the looks of it, Yoriichi was willing to put everything on the line just to gain power, and this led Muzan to put his guard down. One night, Yoriichi requested a personal meeting with Muzan to supposedly discuss plans on how to kill the Demon Slayers, when suddenly he whips out his sword and tries to decapitate Muzan in one go. Luckily, Muzan was able to dodge the surprise attack and went full-on attack mode. He was panicking and scared because not only could he not look inside Yoriichi's mind, but couldn't even activate the curse that comes with his blood. Yoriichi took another opportunity to attack, and the two clashed swords and claws. It was a fight to the death, and Muzan couldn't comprehend why he wanted to become a demon first before he killed him. It lasted a while, but in the end, Muzan was completely annihilated. He tried to do the same trick where he blew himself up into tiny little pieces, but it didn't didn't work, and Yoriichi finally defeated it. The upper moons rushed to the room where the two fought and saw that Yoriichi was the only one left standing. He declared himself the new Demon King, and instead of trying to find the blue spider lily, they will instead eradicate the Demon Slayers. The rest of the story stays the same, and years passed by. It was now the time of the Taisho era, and Tanjiro Kamado was born. Just like Muzan, Yoriichi and the rest of the demons had no luck in trying to find the headquarters of the Demon Slayer Corps. On the other hand, Kokushibo was full of jealousy, not only because he lost his spot as the upper rank 1, but he also became the Demon King, and even he had no choice but to follow Yoriichi's orders. As the demons second only to Yoriichi, he continuously tried to challenge his brother, but not once did he win, and every time, Yoriichi held back just to save his life. With the news of Yoriichi becoming the Demon King spreading like wildfire, and proof that demon slayers could in fact become demons, it led to a pretty catastrophic outbreak of betrayal cases among the Demon Slayer Corps. Low-ranking demon slayers who have no loyalty to the Corps, as well as those who are consumed by hate and treated unfairly by society, started flocking to the demon side, and this resulted in their numbers swelling up by the hundreds, if not thousands. But there's a disadvantage that comes with this as well. You see, the new demons are much weaker compared to those in the original series, because these freshies were turned by demons that were also turned by Yoriichi. This means that the concentration of Muzan's blood is not at its purest, resulting in lower boosts when it comes to physical abilities, as well as more chances of a transformation going completely wrong. Another thing triggered by this increase in Demon Slayer demons is the fact that older demons, or those who didn't come from any demon slaying background, hated the newcomers, because there's a stark difference in mindset and a lot more. As the days go by, and with the new demons outnumbering the old ones, a civil war across demon society looks like it's going to be imminent, because they weren't affected by the change that much, and overall just respected the hierarchy. The upper moons decided to align themselves with Yoriichi, except for Daki and Jutaro, who felt indebted to Muzan, as well as Kokushibo, who was the one that was secretly flaming up the revolution. In addition, the lower moons 2, 5, and 6 joined the traitors' side after Kokushibo promised them more power once they had won. A huge battle breaks out between the two insides, just inside the Infinity Castle. Hundreds of demons fight each other to the death, tearing from flesh and bone. During this battle, Yoriichi and Kokushibo were dealing a lot of damage to their opponent's troops, but it's pretty obvious that the rebels are at a complete disadvantage, because they only had Upper Moon 1 and Upper Moon 2. The rest of the Upper Moons alongside Yoriichi were having the time of their lives, and the rebels were relying on Kokushibo the entire time to carry them to victory. However, Kokushibo made a grave miscalculation, one that would cost him this entire battle, and it was no other than Nakame. But why is she so important? Well, if you weren't listening, you would have failed to notice that Nakame's blood demon art is quite literally their entire battleground. Yep, just like in the original series, Nakame can control the Infinity Castle itself, and this gives the Loyalists an overpowered advantage. As the battle raged on, the rebels were slowly losing their footing, and Kokushibo could only do so much. In the end, all of the traitors are killed, except Kokushibo, who successfully escaped before they were surrounded. Now, you might be wondering, why doesn't Yoriichi just chase him, since he is the Demon King and must know where every demon is? Well, it's because he doesn't have Muzan's demon manipulation, which allows him to tap into the thoughts of other demons. This is also the same reason why he couldn't quell the rebellion before it went way out of hand. Even though he managed to run away, Kokushibo is severely wounded, and his regeneration couldn't keep up with the wounds he suffered from Yoriichi's sun breathing. This is interesting to know, because sun breathing is the only breathing technique that can limit a demon's regeneration, and since Yoriichi was the one who created it, well, you already know it's potent as heck. It keeps running and running, and eventually ends up in the middle of nowhere in the mountains. As he keeps moving, by pure coincidence and by my omnipotent powers, he eventually ends up at the Kamado household and meets Tanjiro, who is standing outside of their home performing the Hinokami Kagura. Now, seeing a demon for the first time, Tanjiro was scared out of his pants and had no idea as to what to do. However, instead of raging around or in fact killing these humans whom he saw, Kokushibo decided that diplomacy was the key to the situation, and it was because of Tanjiro's Hanafuda earrings, the dance, and a scar on his forehead. Yes, aside from reminding him of his brother, Kokushibo realized that these people were affiliated with Yoriichi one way or another, and it was too good to be a coincidence. As we all know, since Tanjiro is the kind of person who hears demons out, he agrees to listen to Kokushibo when he says that he wants to tell a story. He explains his past, how he became a demon, and how he and Yoriichi eventually betrayed the Demon Slayer Corps. However, like the sneaky little demon he is, he added a bit of a twist to the entire thing to make it look like he was the good guy. He explains that he ran away from Yoriichi, who eventually became the Demon King, because they ended up fighting after Kokushibo tried to convince him to stop all of this nonsense. He also added a little spice, saying that he realized his mistakes when in fact, Bo was just jealous. He keeps on telling more lies, saying that Yoriichi will eventually come for them because the Hanafuda earrings that Tanjiro wore symbolize the last remnants of the sun-breathing users, Yoriichi's arch-nemesis. Now, if you've watched the series, you can easily notice that these are all just blatant lies. lies, but if you're Tanjiro, you might be convinced, and that's exactly what happened. After an intense back and forth and a lot of talking, Kokushibo finally convinces Tanjiro to become a demon to protect his family. He also asked permission from Tanjiro's siblings and mother. Then he promised that Tanjiro would be safe during the transformation. It was a success. Tanjiro has now become a full-blown demon, and with Kokushibo, they train to control his new abilities. It takes a couple of years for this to happen, and during that time, Kokushibo was welcomed into the Kamado household, and he became really close with Tanjiro and Nezuko to the point where he somewhat got attached to both of them. But good times don't always last forever, because Yoriichi, even after 2 years, is still sending out search parties to try and catch Kokushibo before he completely messes up everything he's worked so hard for. One of these search parties was attacked by a group of demon slayers, and there was only one survivor left. At the same time, Kokushibo and Tanjiro were already out training because it was nighttime, and it was the only time they could go outside. Suddenly, Tanjiro and Kokushibo hear screams, and they instantly dash back home. When they arrived, they were met with a horrific scene. The surviving demon, in a bid to get some food and regenerate, ransacked the Kamado household and killed everyone inside. When it saw both of them, it tried to escape, but Kokushibo instantly killed it with one swing of his sword. They were too late, and Tanjiro's entire family is dead. Tanjiro became full of grief and rage, and surprisingly, even Kokushibo felt angry. Is Kokushibo starting to change, or are you just full of copium? At this moment, Tanjiro swears to get vengeance on his family and eradicate every single demon from existence, especially Yoriichi. Before they could bury the bodies, however, the demon slayer squad that ambushed the search party arrived, and when they saw the situation, instantly thought that Kokushibo and Tanjiro were responsible. Before they can catch them, however, both successfully escape. But the one leading the demon slayer squad, Giyu, feels like something is wrong and decides to investigate further. As time passes by, and Tanjiro finally starts to move on in the hopes that he could finally get his vengeance, he and Kokushibo train more. Eventually, Tanjiro masters his demon form and even unlocks the sun-breathing technique through Kokushibo's guidance. His blood demon art is the same as Demon King Tanjiro in the original timeline, Biokinesis, where he can manipulate and change his body at will. Tanjiro can also maintain his consciousness much better when in highly stressful situations, meaning that he can use swords gracefully in battle. With that in mind, Kokushibo decides that it's time that Tanjiro gets a proper Nichiren sword, and to do this, they go to the first location Kokushibo had in mind, the former Demon Slayer headquarters. Remember when I mentioned that Kokushibo killed the Oyakata when he first became a demon? Yeah, because of that incident, the Demon Slayer Corps decided it would be a good idea to hide their headquarters in a more remote area and abandon the last one that came under attack. As they travel towards the location, Kokushibo leads the way and reveals why it was abandoned, essentially trusting Tanjiro with his path. They reach the ruins of the old headquarters and go through the rubble and abandoned buildings. As they reach the armory, Tanjiro finds an old sword and instantly takes it. It was still sharp, usable, and most of all, was made with Nichiren. But before they could even collect their thoughts, Giyu and his squad ambushed them. These guys just seem to be really good at jumping people. Giyu reveals that they have been tracking them for weeks on end. Because of this disturbance, Kokushibo gets annoyed and is ready to throw hands and essentially just murder the demon slayers so they won't be a burden anymore. Luckily for them, though, Tanjiro stopped Kokushibo and convinced him to let him take on the demon slayers because it'll be good practice. Both sides ready themselves, and one demon slayer takes the first move. In the blink of an eye, he is instantly knocked out, and as he approaches Tanjiro, they suffer the same fate. They aren't dead though, just unconscious. It was such a one-sided fight that after a few minutes, Giyu was the only one left standing. Seeing that Giyu was the most skillful of them all, and probably the highest ranked, Tanjiro tried to talk to him. He explains that both he and Kokushibo are on their side, and actually want to kill the Demon King. Giyu thinks this is all a trick, which I mean is fair, and tries to attack Tanjiro again. With a lot of skill, he instantly subdues Giyu, pinning him to the ground. Tanjiro tries to talk to him again, and seeing that he has no choice, Giyu hears him out. Tanjiro requests that they be taken to the head of the Demon Slayer Corps, and seeing that this was an awful decision because they could instantly be ambushed again, Giyu accepts. He says that he'll be their guide, but in exchange, they have to spare the lives of his men. Since that was what Tanjiro wanted from the start, he accepted, and they made a deal. Giyu talks to his men and orders them to inform the Oyakata ahead of time, as well as to bring every available Hashira to the meeting site for security purposes. When they reached the Demon Slayer HQ, all of the Hashiras waited for Giyu, Tanjiro, and Kokushibo at the gate, and with them were hundreds of Demon Slayers. To prove that they actually mean no harm to the humans, the Oyakata, Kagaya Ubuyashiki, makes them take a test, similar to the one Nezuko had. Tsunami cut his arm to test both of their tastes for blood, and let's just say that they passed with flying colors. This is because both of them have already mastered control of their demonic urges. Because of this, Kagaya agrees to have a meeting with them. In their meeting, Kokushibo and Tanjiro reveal everything there is to know, especially what Kokushibo predicts is the demon's true strength, as well as Yoriichi's plan to eradicate the Demon Slayer Corps. With this information, the Hashiras argue for a while, but overruling everything, Kagaya Kagaya agrees that they should work together, especially since Yoriichi is a bigger threat compared to Muzan. And so their preparation begins. With their collaboration now set in stone, Kokushibo trains and teaches the Demon Slayers everything there is to know about demons, including their anatomy, possible weaknesses, and their new tactics. Since most new demons were former Demon Slayers themselves, they will be more organized and will likely have a proper strategic plan. On the other side of the training grounds, Tanjiro spars with the Hashira and the other Demon Slayers. He beats most of them in a one-on-one match and truly emphasizes that the demons that they will be facing will be strong, deadly, and smart. As the Demon Slayers hone their skills and prepare for the upcoming final battle, Tsunemi spots something in the tree line. He dashes closer and realizes that it's a flying eye, and it was secretly deployed by Nakame to know their whereabouts. He instantly reports this to Kagaya and the other Hashiras, saying that the demons already know of their location. With this sudden news, Kagaya announces to all Demon Slayers, no matter what the rank, to go back to headquarters and help in fortifying their positions. This includes setting up high walls, obstacles, and defenses that can slow down or kill the demons. The Demon Slayer headquarters is ready, and they are now waiting for the demons' attack. Just imagine a heavily fortified Japanese castle with walls that were shaped like the letter U, and that's what it looks like. With everything set in stone, everyone inside the headquarters is on high alert. There are 3 walls set up that surround the castle, one in the middle and one on each side with mountains at the back, making it impossible for demons to enter there. The tension is high when out of nowhere, a Demon Slayer screams at the top of his lungs, saying that he's seeing ice at the middle section of the battlefield. Everyone rushes to that part of the wall to see what it is and instantly sees Doma with what looks like dozens, if not hundreds of demons behind them. And they aren't only attacking from there. To their right, they see Hantang and Gyoko with more demons, Yoko's fish monsters, and Hantango already split into several clones. Lastly, at the left wall, we see Yoriichi himself with the Kaza and Kaigaku, along with some lower moons and another couple hundred demons. The Demon Slayers ready themselves for the onslaught, while the demons sharpen their teeth and fangs to finally eradicate their ancient enemies once and for all. Kokushibo's eyes line up with Yoriichi, and Yoriichi points his sword at Kokushibo. It was the signal to attack. All of the demons from every side start running towards the walls, with the lower ranked ones going in first, but they were caught off guard when the Demon Slayers atop the walls replaced their swords with what looked to be muskets. But wait, you might be thinking guns in Demon Slayer? Impossible. Well, little did you know that in the Taisho era, guns had already arrived in Japan, and these muskets were directly inspired by Genya's shotgun. Demon Slayers fire volley after volley, mowing down a lot of the demons that came charging in the first wave. But with a low rate of fire and long reload time, some of the demons eventually reach the walls and start climbing. To counter this, and hopefully slow them down, the Demon Slayers use good old-fashioned oil and drop it on the demons. After that, they ignite it, creating an inferno around the castle. Unfortunately for them, though, this doesn't kill the demons, but instead just slows them down, as burning alive means that they have to focus on their regeneration. It seems like the Demon Slayers could successfully defend their headquarters without a single demon stepping inside it, but they were so wrong. From the middle, Doma launches an attack and freezes everything on that part of the wall, material and Demon Slayers alike. With another blow that looks to be a giant glacier, the frozen middle section of the wall is destroyed, giving the demons one hell of an opening. To counter this breach, Iyome and Tsunemi, possibly the Demon Slayers' strongest fighters with hundreds of Demon Slayers, are sent out to face the Upper Moon too. Meanwhile, at the right wall, the Demon Slayers are doing a lot better. After the initial musket fire mowed down the first wave, Giyu, Shinobu, and Rengoku put their brains together and execute an amazing 1000 IQ move. They actually sally out with 36 Demon Slayers and attack the confused and shocked demons, getting rid of the stragglers. And when Han, Tango, and Gyoko make a move, they just retreat back inside the walls. It's a rinse and repeat process that causes a lot of casualties on the demon's side. At the left wall, perhaps the most dangerous section of the battlefield, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. Although the gunfire caught the demons off guard, Yoriichi ordered Kaigaku to take out the riflemen atop the walls with his Thunderblood demon art, killing or stunning most of them, and leaving the entire left wall without any ranged defense. What made it even more horrific was the fact that when Kaigaku attacked, the oil that was supposed to be dropped on the demons at the left wall combusted, burning the fortification and giving Akaza the chance to destroy the wall altogether, creating a massive opening. Because of this, Tanjiro and Kokushibo rallied the most Demon Slayers, including 4 Hashiras, Muichiro, Tengen, Obanai, and Mitsuri. They formed a line and prepared for the imminent assault. As the smoke from the chaos cleared, they saw that all the demons were charging them, and in response, Kokushibo made an insane order to countercharge. The two sides clashed across the entirety of the headquarters in a fierce and bloody battle. Akaza was fighting against Muichiro, Obanai, and Mitsuri, while Tengen insisted on handling Kaigaku alone. Tanjiro and Kokushibo faced Yoriichi, while we all know the rest. Due to their exposure to Tanjiro, all the Hashiras unlocked their Demon Slayer marks. which gave them a massive boost in strength and overall physical stats. As the battle raged on, Tengu and Gyoko were easily defeated by the Hashiras, with Giyu losing an eye and Rengoku a couple of fingers. But that's not to say there were no casualties, as half the Demon Slayers there died in the process. Now that the right wall was cleared, the Hashiras ordered the low-ranked Demon Slayers to guard the section while they, and a dozen or so others, reinforced the other sections. Shinobu and Giyu went to the middle, while Rengoku proceeded to the left. In the middle, even though there were a bunch of Hashiras, Akaza was just too strong, and he really deserved to get the title of Upper Moon 2. They tried their best, but it wasn't enough, and they were being pushed back. To win this situation, Shinobu thought of the inevitable. She said goodbye to Giyu and told him to take care of Kanao, who was also in the battle. She used everything she had to attack Doma, eventually sacrificing herself in the process and poisoning him like in the original timeline. This gave the others the opening they needed and successfully beheaded him. The battle in the middle section resulted in Shinobu's death and Guillaume losing an arm. With that out of the way, the only section they had to take care of was at the left. Kaigaku was already dead while Akaza was being pushed into a corner. Yoriichi saw that his forces were losing, so he escaped out of Tanjiro and Kokushibo's sight, utilizing the transparent world to blitz every single Demon Slayer he saw. In a flash, he killed Obanai and Tengen and was just about to kill Tanjiro, but Kokushibo blocked the attack and used his body to save Tanjiro, sacrificing himself. He didn't know why he did it, but deep inside, he thought it was because he grew fond of Tanjiro and admitted that he resembled Yoriichi when they were still brothers. As he said his farewells, Yoriichi cut his head off. Kokushibo dies and Tanjiro goes berserk mode, having an evolution and turning into something even more demonic. Out of the Demon Slayers present in the middle, Tsunemi was the only one to arrive on the left, and he saw that they were losing that area. Even though he was pushed into a corner, Akaza still was able to kill Mitsuri too. In this desperate moment, Tanjiro tells everyone to stand back. Everyone heeded his words, and the rest of the Demon Slayers on the right, led by Tsunemi, focused on killing all the remaining demons, while Tanjiro focused on Yoriichi once again. The fight was intense, and throughout all of it, Tanjiro almost lost his life a couple of times. The entire battle lasted throughout the night, and as if the gods were smiling upon them, a miracle happened. The sun rose up because the battle took too long, and Yoriichi was so consumed by rage and his twisted ambition to kill the Demon Slayers that he didn't even notice it. Every single demon was eradicated, and Tsunemi found his opening to finally end Akaza. Tanjiro and Yoriichi stopped fighting and looked at each other. To be honest, they kinda mirrored each other's lives, and they were the same person with the same experiences born in different eras. As the morning sun reached its peak, Tanjiro bid his farewells to Yoriichi and out of nowhere said that he was glad that his miserable life finally ended at the hands of one of his most trusted friends. Seeing Sumiyoshi in Tanjiro's stead, Tanjiro looked back and saw that the surviving Demon Slayers had gathered behind his back. Watching him with pride, compassion, and a sense of sadness, he also bid his goodbyes, thanking them for their sacrifice and help, assuring them that the world was now safe. But as he bathed in sunlight, Tanjiro and every single person at that moment noticed one thing: he didn't burn. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more Demon Slayer videos.